Ready, Noms? Chapter 3. Raglan Redmayne, known to his very few friends as Rags, started his day in the typical fashion. Wake up at the shelter, eat a bowl of the cheap-ass mush they serve for breakfast, and then immediately chase his next fix. Anodyne was quite the expensive habit to sustain, but it would seemingly become essential to survival once one fell into its vicious cycle. It hadn't always been this way for Rags, but it was far too late to change things now. He knew that if he couldn't panhandle at least 20 silver before midday, the sickness would surely come. It was an ailment that Rags dreaded above all. It had taken control of his entire life. Most days, the only reason he would climb out of bed was to get a fix. His only motivation was stopping the sickness from coming. It was an endless loop, day after day, month after month, year after year, with no escape in sight. Rags sat with his back against the brick wall of the bakery, ever so slightly in the way of people walking down the sidewalk. Despite the high levels of foot traffic, most people walked right past, ignoring him as if he was some kind of specter. Some of them would shake their heads in disapproval, passing judgment without knowing anything about him, and he wondered how people could be so disapproving without knowing the childhood that he had faced. Rags would be the first to explain how he wasn't dealt a hand of high cards. Rather, he was dealt a hand of 5 deuces. Impossibly bad. He now had an entire book of endless excuses and near infinite justifications for begging to subsidize his addiction. Bye, Nomad. Bye, buddy. He's going on his cat tower. He's like, I'm done with you. Okay. He's already heard this book. It's all good. Okay. Rags. Oh, shit. Time passed, and the sun approached its zenith, bringing the morning to an unsuccessful close as the coldness in the air shifted to a slightly more tolerable temperature. Rags checked his collection tin. 5 silver. Shit day. He was falling behind on his quota, and the time had at last come to move on to his second spot. 10 minutes and only 2 silver later, the city watch came along and booted him from the new location. The following 3 spots produced only a handful more copper and 2 additional silver. Rags knew his time was running out, and the nausea, shakes, and pain were fast approaching. Even the anticipation of the sickness itself tended to bring about its own symptoms of anxiety and fear. Rags couldn't be sure what exactly would happen to him if the sickness came and stayed for too long. But not knowing any better, he always assumed that he would probably die from it within a few days. Desperation set in, and one final idea came to Rags in the form of a last-ditch effort. He raced back through the streets of Terra, driven by a persistent sense of dread, to the southwestern section of town, the Underdistrict, the place he called home. He made his way to the familiar alley running parallel to 10th Street. Trog's shop was not the kind of shop found anywhere outside of the district. It wasn't as much a shop as it was a pile of junk. Here, the alley was littered with discarded construction materials. Damaged lumber and broken bricks piled haphazardly in the alley, probably from a fire some years ago that no one had bothered to clean up. Trog would hang around the area most days, and he was known to have a large customer base. After a year, the alley behind 10th Street had become a mainstay for folks like Rags. Eventually, people started referring to it as Trog's shop. Hey, Trog, Rags approached cautiously. Look, man, I'm down on my luck today. What can I get for a little less than 10 chips? He found the giant man leaning against the wall, just inside a clearing within the tangled mess of wood, steel, and stone, spanning an entire city block down the alley. Not fucking shit, Rags. You already owe me 50, Trog replied with his terrifyingly deep voice once again. I'm trying. He stood over 7 feet tall, with black, scraggly hair hanging down past his shoulders, wider than a horse's ass. It wasn't totally uncommon to see Archspanians from the distant north on the streets of Terra, but Trog was quite possibly the only one of them in his specific trade. "I got 9 and some change, Trog. Can't you please just split up a file for me? Just this once," Rags begged. "Please, I fucking need it, man. Even if it's just a little bit."
"Fuck off with you. What you need ain't my goddamn problem, now is it?"
The dealer puffed up his chest, stepping up to Rags. His assertion was very clear. If Rags didn't leave or produce money from his pockets immediately, he was going to be beaten to a pulp. Rags knew better than to push his luck with Trog, a muscular giant standing 2 feet taller than Rags with arms the size of tree trunks. Rags raised his hands in surrender and backed away, cursing under his breath. Rags was left with only one option, which he never liked: crime. He could steal the money pretty easily, but the watch knew Rags all too well. He was a notorious urchin, and they always had an eye out for people like him. He contemplated the possibility of running a quick con on the other side of town. However, his biggest apprehension to committing crime was getting thrown into jail. He had been there before, and knew from experience that they don't serve anodyne in the slammer. Therefore, jail time equated to the most horrific sickness imaginable. With this thought, Rags reconsidered his idea, deciding it wouldn't be worth the risk. Just before Rags scurried away from the shop, a man called out from behind. "I'll pay on his behalf." The man approached Trog and tossed him a bag full of coins. Trog skeptically opened it, inspecting the contents, then looked up to stare questioningly at the newcomer. Hesitantly, the dealer pocketed the bag of coins and in exchange tossed a small glass vial filled with a milky white substance over to Rags.
"I guess it's your lucky day,"
Trog sneered. Rags gave the generous man a quick nod of appreciation before turning his back to down half of the vial's contents with a single gulp. Near instantaneous relief washed over his body. The drug didn't get Rags high anymore, not like it used to. However, it did make him feel normal again, at least for a short time. "Thank you." Rags turned back to face the mysterious man. "Don't sweat it," he replied, approaching Rags. "All right, what do you want?" Rags asked, studying the man's face. Usually on the streets, an act of kindness was merely a front for some kind of bigger con. "Maybe I just felt like being a good person today," the man smiled sarcastically. "I'm sure." "Name your cost," exhaled Rags. "In the district, there was always a cost." "You certainly know how this all works, don't you?" The man's smile faded. "Fair enough. I'll be straight with you. See, it's rather quite simple. I have some work that needs done, and you seem in need of work to do." "How much does this man owe you again?" the newcomer turned to ask Trog. Trog glanced at Rags.
50 silver plus interest. I would reckon he owes me about 100 now."
"A whole fucking gold coin, Trog? Really? That's quite a bit of depth, my friend." The man shook his head. Fuck. Rags knew he was trapped. "What kind of work are we talking?" "Ha!" The man let out a quick laugh. "You really think you're in any position to ask questions, do you?" Rags rolled his eyes. He had expected this from the moment the man tossed the coins to Trog, but he was desperate enough to accept it for what it was and wouldn't argue. This was simply just how things worked in the district. "I'll be fair about it, though, on account of how nice of a guy I am." The man smiled widely. He was missing most of his teeth. "One job, then you're free to go. Your debt paid in full. But just so you're aware, there is a lot more coin to be made if you so wish to continue to work for me, which I expect you will. Now, for this particular job, all's we need, somebody to deliver a package. And that's pretty much it." "Just a delivery, eh?" "Yeah, pretty much. And if you do good at this one, maybe we can see about more interesting work." The man extended his hands out to Rags. Name's Dom. And yours? Rags, he replied, shaking his new employer's hand. Well, that's a pretty fucking fitting name now, ain't it? Dom chuckled as Rags lowered his eyes at the man. So what exactly am I supposed to be delivering? Rags snapped to the point. He figured it would probably be some kind of illegal delivery like drugs or contraband weapons. This much was to be expected. I'm glad you asked. Come with me. I'll introduce you to the crew. We'll tell you all you need to know and get you started. I take it you mean right now? Rags asked, hoping for some time. Yeah, are you fucking stupid or something? Yes, right now. Let's go. Rags let out a long sigh. If it weren't for the anodyne pumping through his veins, he would be much more concerned about this current situation. Every street urchin knew that owing a debt and paying it with work was never an equal trade. There was always a catch of some kind. Rags followed Dom and prepared to do something that was most likely terrible and dangerous. However, he had achieved his goal for the day. The sickness had been staved off, so all was well with the world, for the time being.